Okay, so the first thing is we need to tell Heroku uh, to how to properly run our container. If so, that's alluded to in this documentation. Search for the command, and that's how containers are normally run with a command directive. And we don't have a command in our Docker file because in our Docker Compose we're injecting the command. But again, Heroku doesn't use Docker Compose for us. It's just running the container. Because Docker Compose is more or less really a development thing. So let's update our container to have a command that start our application like we do in development, local development with Docker Compose. Okay, so now we're going to run those same two commands to push our image to Heroku and tell Heroku to run that image. Here's rebuilding with our new change in the Docker file, and a lot of the layers already exist. Oops. That was a little faster than I thought. But let's give it a shot now. Heroku container web. Okay. So we refresh this. You'll notice before this was blank, but after having a valid command, it changed. In fact, it might have been Python 3 before, like how it was stated here. All right, so now the error is it can't find the script because we only copied in requirements.txt. And we can verify this using if we terminal into the remote container. So the container only has requirements.txt because that's all we copied in. So to fix that, we will tell add this instruction, copy everything in our current context, our build context. So everything in this folder here. And then copy that into our application directory. So now, if we were to build and push, we have a new layer to push, and everything else is still cached. And now we're to release it. We should get a different error now. So the application is starting. And let's see what this says. So I'm expecting this issue to come up. Heroku injects this port environment variable to tell your application which port to bind to. If you remembered, the Django application's default is 8000. So we just continue using 8000, but told it to listen on the on that interface. And again, since Heroku is not using our document, is not recognizing our document plus YML, we need to tell our script to use what Heroku provides us. So whatever Heroku port Heroku wants to give us, that's the port we'll use. So let's we'll update this script. We put in double quotes to protect ourselves in case there's any spaces or special characters is a best practice for shell scripts. Okay, so we'll run the same two commands, build and push. And then release this. So have Heroku run it. Okay, starting. So this is a good sign since the last time we did it, that up state wasn't reached. So now we go to our application, we actually get a real Django error. Okay, and again, because we're interacting with a container on Heroku servers, Heroku logs get updated. So refresh, we should see the same. We should see Heroku receiving the request. All right, so now we have to continue with this documentation, configuring our Django app to work with Heroku. You notice that we need to configure allowed hosts on our Django app. So that's really this setting right here. When it's empty, it just allows local hosts for development. But because we're actually hosted on real URL now, we need to make sure that all requests are coming from this URL. And I don't think we need this anymore. Heroku provides us a library to accommodate this to make it easier. So we look at what the library provides. It actually helps sets our allowed hosts. So we have to install it. So the same way we install our Django library, we're going to install this library now. So we're going to use pip to install it temporarily. Okay, looks like it's already installed somehow. Oh wait, no. Right. Okay. Okay. I'm surprised this is already installed. But let's just see what the latest version is. Okay. I'm just gonna go with this for now. We'll add it to our requirements.txt because that's the file that we actually use to build our container. Because right now when I run it, it's just in the container that's running. Though since it is already installed, it might not do too much. Okay, so aside from installing it, we need to kind of configure our app to use it. So we need to import it in our settings file. So we'll import it, and then we need to activate it by adding this at the end of our file. Okay, so that will actually use the library that we just installed. So now, if we are to build, rebuild, and push the new container, or the new image, we can then tell Heroku to run. Okay, so the image is up in Heroku's registry. We'll tell it to spin up a container using the new image. So stopping the other containers, the existing, the ones that are running currently. And here's the new container spinning up. Now it looks like it's ready. So refresh this page. We get a regular Django error. And again, there's the database. We see a database error because we don't really have a database. Okay. So that will be the next step that we tackle, is to integrate a Postgres database. But before we integrate with the Postgres database, let's just make sure that the changes we've made still allows our local development to work. So here we notice that because we made this change of adding a environment variable to hold our port number, we need to make sure this environment variable gets injected into our local container. So here we're going to use Docker Compose to manage our local container, and we are going to specify an environment variable file. Let's fix this. And we'll call this app.v. So let's create that file here. And then we'll specify our port 8000. Okay, and then now if we were to run it, our local development still works. Hopefully. And again, our local development doesn't have, we didn't migrate our local database. So because we're still configured to use SQLite, every time we spin it up, it'll generate this. So be sure to delete it. Otherwise, it will get packaged in your container image and gets shipped to Heroku, and you'll actually see some things here, which isn't too bad, because once we switch to Postgres, it'll all work itself out anyways. Okay, so development still works. Now would be a good time to save it off. Let's see, commit out changes. Okay, app half working on Heroku. Okay. So now we can start integrating Postgres.